Welcome to the Dr. Mudgil podcast. This is episode 179. We are like 2/3 of the way through April here. It is absolutely beautiful outside. This week has been amazing. We were actually away last week. My kids had spring break. We spent a nice little getaway, and we came back on Saturday night to like 80-degree weather here in New York. When we got off the plane, it was like we were still like in the Caribbean. It was beautiful. But it's been amazing all week. It's it's in the 70s today. Don't need a jacket or sweater. Sun is shining, and just life is good. Spring is in the air. The Knicks are in the playoffs. They're really giving us Knicks fans some palpitations. They're 1-1 in this series against Detroit. First game had an amazing comeback win. I don't know why we're coming back to beat this team, although Detroit has been looking pretty impressive. The defense is very, very good. And, they got some great players. But Knicks, we just need to step it up. We lost game 2. I would say we executed very, very poorly. And it was kind of a tough game to watch. We almost made it back to win, but in the last minute, just kind of shot the bed, as they say. So on to game 3. Hopefully we'll pull this thing out and head down to the second round of the playoffs. But let's go Knicks. I'm a lifelong Knicks fan. It's playoff basketball is just hits different. And it's been a lot of fun. So let's get into it. All right. So this has actually been a podcast I've been like thinking about doing for years, to be honest with you. And I've been having a hard time executing it for various reasons. But I think today is the day. And the theme of this podcast is don't be an asshole. And I'm going to explain to you, I'm going to give this some context. So years ago, when I was, must have been like 21 years old, I went to college in Atlanta. I went to Emory University, and the Olympics were in Atlanta that summer. So my buddy from New York, he was going to Columbia, still one of my best friends to this day, came down, and we both worked at an ice cream shop in CNN Center, which was in downtown Atlanta, right like where all like Olympic Village was and all the action was for the Olympics. And it was in CNN Center where they actually film, the stuff, the news that you see on CNN. And we were working at an ice cream shop called Goran's. I don't even know if it still exists, but one of my buddy's families owned the ice cream shop, hooked us up with a summer job because they needed lots of employees, and it was fun. It was a fun job until the bombing happened, and then they basically closed CNN Center down, and I was forced into early retirement from the ice cream business. But it was a great time while we're doing it. I have tons of great stories. Lots of funny stuff happened while we were there. But one of the things that I vividly remember is there was an anchor from CNN, and he was we were 21. I think I turned 21 that summer. And he must have been a guy in his 50s. And he would come down, and because of the Olympics were happening, this place was mobbed. I mean, it was just the lines were ridiculous, and you had to work fast and efficiently, and folks had to wait a long time to get their whatever ice cream they wanted or whatever it was. And this guy who was an anchor at CNN was waiting online the first day, and I think he was kind of frustrated that he had to wait online. And he would come literally every day, and every day we would see his frustration waiting on the line. So finally he said to my friend, he said, "Listen, when you see me, I'm on the back of the line, I'm just going to go like this, all right? So that way you got to start making my milkshake." He's basically trying to cut the line because he thought he was some kind of celebrity figure. And a couple of takeaways from this. One is I thought, what grown man drinks a milkshake every day for lunch? That even back then I was it's kind of a strange habit. And the second thing is really, guy, everyone is waiting online. So you want to secretly cut the line with your secret move here. And of course, we never respected this request. We pretended we did, but because this guy was kind of an asshole, we were like, dude, we're not going to do anything to help you out, because you're an asshole. And as they say, you get more bees with honey than with vinegar. And this guy was, it was Vinegar City with this guy. So obviously his move didn't help his cause, even though we kind of made him think that it did, but got a good chuckle about it behind the scenes. And to fast forward to present day, when you run like a small business like mine, and this could be any small business, it could be an ice cream shop like the one that I worked at. It could be the local pizza place. It could be the deli. It could be your doctor's office, your dentist. These are all small businesses, and we're very, very blessed. We have an amazing cohort of patients. We love our patients. We do everything we can for our patients. Our patients, by and large, I hope love us. But from what we're seeing online with the reviews over the last 15 years, I think we're doing okay. But every now and then, there's folks that just write crazy reviews, and the problem when you're in healthcare is there's all these laws basically tying a doctor's hands, responding to a review. So if someone says something completely outlandish that's just not based in fact and basically total bullshit, we can't do anything about it. We can't really say, hey, no, that's not what happened. This is exactly what happened. And, this is why we did the things that we did, yada, yada, yada. And, it's very, very frustrating because, listen, we are busting our ass doing the very best we can for each and every one of our patients. Literally each and every one of our patients. We do everything we can for them. We love what we do. We want our patients to get better. That's why we went into this. That's why every doctor goes into being, goes through the struggles of medical school, residency, fellowship, all the many, many years it takes to become a doctor, because we have a passion for this. As you've heard me say many times over, the most important part of any anti-aging skin regimen is using a proper sunscreen, namely one that's at least an SPF 30 and contains titanium or zinc or both. I couldn't be more excited to announce the launch of these two amazing Dr. Mudgil brand sunscreens. One is tinted, one is non-tinted, depending on what your preference is. I also have an amazing hydrating and moisturizing serum, which your skin is absolutely going to love. There's a link in the description below, which you can click to check out the products. You are going to love them as much as I do. And when you have your own office, and we're now folks who have their own offices, we're the last of the Mohicans, because medicine, all of this vertical integration that I talk about in medicine, which is happening, whereas sprawling hospital systems Mount Sinai and NYU and Northwell are usurping practices, and private equities in medicine. And you don't have to get me started. You know how I feel about private health insurance companies, pharmacy benefit managers. Those are all four evil forces in medicine that are just destroying healthcare. But a lot of doctors now are employees. They work for, Optum, which is owned by United Healthcare, which is actually the largest employer of physicians. Think about that. Does that make any sense? That's crazy. And I hope there's some sort of federal investigation into that, because it's absolute insanity. And the fact that that's even been allowed to happen is crazy, but that's fodder for another podcast. But most doctors are just these anonymous cogs in this big corporate machine. But when you have your own practice, like I said, there's not a ton of us left, but it's your baby. Your blood, sweat, and tears went into not only getting your medical degree and going through residency and fellowship, but then you put your shingle up, you build your space. I have 2 offices, which I was very involved in the design of. You have you hire employees. You have an amazing team that you put together, and everyone has this collective mission to deliver the best care possible. And that's really all you want to do. You want to do the best you can for your patients. But every now and then, listen, people are who they are. Humans are humans. And, every now and then, an asshole slips through the cracks. And I've been wanting to do this for a while, share a negative review. And, I'm not one to shy away from responding, although I have to, you have to do it tactfully. You can't really talk about the nuts and bolts of the visit. But these sorts of things infuriate me, because behind the scenes, my team and I are literally doing everything possible to optimize the outcomes for our patients. We if you had any glimpse into what happens behind the scenes in patient care at Mudgil Dermatology, I think you would be blown away at how much effort we do put into this. So here goes. So several weeks ago, there was a patient, and I can use his name. This is all from Google. So he's put this stuff out on Google, his name, the whole enchilada. There's nothing that I'm violating in HIPAA here, because this is literally his words, what he put up there, and then I'm going to read you my response, and then we'll get into it a little bit. So Vincent Manginelli a few weeks ago wrote a review, and what he said was, it's a 1-star review on Google. Mistreated by staph infection with Accutane for 7 months before finally diagnosing and treating it with antibiotics. I would seriously encourage anyone who is considering using this practice to find a dermatologist that knows what they're doing and is not simply a cash cow. So I read that because I get alerts when there's a Google review. I was like, what is going on here? This is very unusual because we have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 5-star reviews. Like I said, we bust our ass for our patients. And I think, most 99+% of our patients recognize that. But I couldn't take this one sitting down. So I responded and I said, Vincent, I hate to have to publicly embarrass you like this, but you chose to bring this onto Google. Now, because of HIPAA laws, I can't specifically dissect your deceptive, bogus, and untruthful claims. Generally speaking, though, you do realize there can be two truths. Namely, someone with cystic acne could possibly, quite possibly actually, acquire a concomitant staph infection, no? Regardless, I've been doing this long enough to suspect that's what's likely fueling your ire is some sort of billing-related issue. Most of us, including myself, have high deductible plans. The sting of every charge is real. I get it. Unfortunately, for patients and their doctors, our hands are tied. This is the system our government allowed vile private insurance companies to create and profit from, all on the backs of patients like you and docs like me. What I can say is we're exceedingly grateful for the many, many thousands of patients who seek the expert, compassionate, and thoughtful care we provide. Patients refer their friends, parents, siblings, children, coworkers, heck, even complete strangers they meet on the street to us. They do that because of the tailored, painstaking, accessible, and kind care we unwaveringly provide each and every one of our patients, even the rare, ungrateful assholes. When someone like yourself weeds themselves out of our sphere, I view that as the universe delivering us a blessing. I hope you can find the care you need elsewhere, as you're most certainly never again welcome to be cared for at my practice. Your official discharge notice will be sent under separate cover. And that's kind of, getting long in the tooth and, more gray haired. That's kind of how I deal with this. Listen, you can please all of the people some of the time. You can please some of the people all of the time, but you can't please all of the people all of the time. That's just the way it goes. And, I can't get into the nuts and bolts of exactly what's going on with this particular, gentleman, I guess I'll call him, individual, I think is more appropriate. But it sucks when you bust your ass for each and every one of your patients and anyone can write whatever the hell they want on some public platform. But as a healthcare provider, your hands are tied when trying to convey, hey, no, this is really what happened, and paint a clearer picture of what exactly transpired. But in any event, you ain't gonna stop the doc. I love what I do. I love my patients. I still wake up, almost 50 years old, excited to go to work every day. I'm so grateful for the amazing patients that I care for, who come time and time again, years and years over. I have patients that I've been seeing for 15 years who now I see their kids, they refer their parents, their friends. And it's just been an amazing ride, which I hope continues. The moral of the story is don't be an asshole. Kindness always wins. And, I don't know exactly what happened with this guy, but if there were some sort of billing related issue that was really fueling his ire, which is what I kind of alluded to, and I don't know if that's the case or not. But if there were, I'm a nice guy. I'm happy to work with you. We are in the business of helping people out, not hurting people. And, these sorts of things for every doctor out there especially doctors out there like myself who are in private practice, who are hanging up their shingle, who are running a business. Not only they're seeing patients, but they're employing folks. They're giving back to their community. They're part of a community. I'm part of the community of Greenwich Village in New York City. I have been for the last 15 years. I have my practice here in Long Island for the last decade, and we're very much ingrained into the community. You know, we see kids who go to the local schools and folks who live in the buildings and houses around our practices. And, you know, that's what it's all about. But these types of, like, you know, when someone just, like, you know, writes a review which is, you know, not really based in truth, it hurts. And I think a lot of my doc colleagues feel the same way. And the most frustrating thing about it is we can't really respond because of these laws that are tying our hands. And I get it. Listen, I understand why those laws are there, but it still hurts the old doc's heart. So with that, kindness wins the day. Just choose kindness, be nice, and your world around you would be a much more pleasant world. I promise you that. So with that, I hope you all have a wonderful, restful weekend and just ready to crush the week ahead. Let's get it.